We're hearing reports that owners have just enough votes to get rid of Washington Commanders owner Dan Snyder.
Yeah, this would be huge. Our sports director, Darren Haynes, is live in New York City with the latest. D, we saw you just within the past hour talking with one of the NFL team owners. What is he saying? Where is this going?
Well, I'm here in New York at the NFL owners meetings, and they're still going on right now. Commissioner Roger Goodell hasn't spoken yet, but Colts owner Jim Irsay, he came down and he spoke to the media about Dan Snyder and how he felt about Dan Snyder and the reflection that he has, that it's negative on all the other owners that he doesn't like to be associated with. And I went to Jim Irsay and I asked him if Dan Snyder is good for the league. In your opinion, do you feel Dan Snyder is good for the league?
Well, again, from the things that I've heard, I want to hold my final opinion. You know, it's a difficult situation. You know, I believe that there's merit to remove him as owner of the Redskins. I think it's something that we have to review. We have to look at all the evidence, and we have to be thorough in going forward.
How many people do you think will support how you feel out of all the other owners?
I believe they'll support it if the report shows and they believe it's the right thing to do.
So obviously that's a clear reflection, like Jim Irsay said, of a lot of the NFL owners and how they feel about Washington Commanders owner Dan Snyder. Now, of course, if they want to vote Dan Snyder out, they'll need to have a majority of the owners to do so. We'll also hear from Roger Goodell later on his thoughts in regards to if Dan Snyder is good for the league and how he feels, just like some of the other owners, if it's the same way. But it was quite telling because we know, covering the Washington Commanders, the multiple investigations. You have the Mary Jo White investigation that's still currently going on in regards to Dan Snyder. You also have the Congress investigation and the investigation in regards to the financial improprieties surrounding Dan Snyder. So there's a lot of negativity that some of these owners are not happy about. And Jim Irsay made it plain and clear how a lot of these owners feel about Dan Snyder.
You know, Darren, it's one thing for Irsay to come out and say that in front of you all, but it's another thing to actually turn it into action. Is there any indication that this is going to be discussed formally by these owners while they're there?
I would say yes, but they all wanted to, well, not all, but Jim Irsay said he wants to wait until this Mary Jo White investigation comes out. So I think they're all pretty much on standby. They're ready to go to see which direction we need to go in when this Mary Jo White investigation comes out, because you don't want to make the wrong decision and then next thing you know there's nothing out of it that comes out of the Mary Jo White investigation. But if there's some negative stuff, if there's some way that makes these owners look bad that Jim Irsay is not a fan of, then they'll take that next step in doing the removal of Dan Snyder. It's more realistic than we've ever heard it before.
Yeah, any idea of the timing, D, as to when that might happen? How long are they meeting here in New York City?
They'll meet here tomorrow. It's not on the agenda as of right now, but they also have a meeting in West Palm Beach during the springtime. So there is another opportunity where these owners could come together and hold this particular this vote to vote Dan Snyder out.
We know you're going to stay on top of it, working your sources there. D, thank you so much.